Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I had a wonderful weekend. I hope you guys did too. It is Monday morning. It's my day off. I have a little bit of time to sit down and do the things that I want to do some journaling, do some editing on some videos, and eat my breakfast in peace. Just all the things that being off allows you to do. Okay, so in today's video, I want to talk about my lifestyle, my job combined together because I get a lot of questions about it, and I do get a lot of views when I'm on TikTok. Anytime I make a video about like a day in the life where I have to go to work, a lot of people ask me, how are you a flight attendant and a mom? Like, how is it even possible? People who are actually flight attendants sometimes ask me that too. They're like, how are you doing it? So I wanted to take the time out to do this video so I can talk a little bit about it. So the first thing I want to talk about is the fact that it's not easy. I am not going to make it look easy because it's really not. And it just really depends on your patience. And I don't know how to explain it, like how you handle yourself under pressure. Everybody is different. How is your anxiety set up? Being a mom and a flight attendant, I know is going to get easier when they are a little bit older. Right now, I'm still changing diapers. So as long as you're still changing diapers, you know that a baby is just 10 times harder. My son is now 4, and that one is potty trained, and he is so much easier than the 1-year-old. However, the 1-year-old is very mature, so he's making life a little bit easier for me as well, but it is not easy. To be a mom and a flight attendant, you need a village. Like, you cannot do this alone. So I'm going to talk about my setup instead of generalizing, but in general, you do need a village. I work about 2 to 3 days a week. And I know that sounds like a little bit, but when I go to work, I'm literally working from morning until night. I can catch a 9 a.m. flight and I won't be back home landing back in New York until about 9 o'clock, sometimes even 10. Then I have to deplane, then I have to go to the parking lot, then I have to come home. And even landing at 9:30, sometimes I'm not home until 11:30. So that is a full-blown day. I've been with the airlines over 10 years. So I'm gonna start off by saying that my pay scale is a little bit higher, obviously, than someone who is just starting out. The other thing is, when you have been with the airlines over a certain amount of time, you are off reserve, which means that you hold a line, which also means that you have an actual schedule monthly. When you are just starting out, you will be on something called reserve, which will be a little bit harder for you to map out your days because you don't know if the airline is going to call you for a trip or not. And when they do call you for a trip, you don't know how many days you might be gone for. So for me, I work what they call turns. That just means that I fly to a destination and I fly right back. I do that because for airline hostess, our days are very long, and I live about 40 minutes from the airport. So even when I'm landing and I'm back in New York at about 9:30, I'm usually not home until about 11. And that's a very long day. So what a day looks like for me is I will get up in the morning about 6 a.m. I get myself dressed. And I usually try to get everything done the night before so that when I do wake up, it's literally brush teeth, eat breakfast, get the kids ready, and out the door. So I would press my uniform. I try to make things very, very, very easy for me because I know that I have to bring my bags down. I got to bring their bags down. I got to put on heels. I got to, sometimes I even skip makeup, which is why, face routine, nightly routine needs to be done the night before because I need to wake up looking refreshed. So let's say I have work on a Monday morning. Sunday night, I do all my preparations where everything is out. Everybody's clothes is out. The kids' clothes, my clothes, everything is out. My bags are packed. The kids' bags are packed, everything. So I will wake up in the morning, and I usually try to wake up before them. Brush my teeth, take my shower, and prepare breakfast. By 7 o'clock, I'm waking them up. I brush their teeth, their food is already out, and at that time, I start to get myself dressed while they're eating breakfast. After they finish with their breakfast, that's when I get them dressed. Then usually we're just out the door. I pack up our bags and we're out the door. The first drop off for my children is at 8 o'clock. When I have to be at work for about 9:30, 10, I am able to take them to school. If I have to be at work anytime before 9 o'clock, I know that if I have to drop my son off at 8 and then the other one by 8:15, I am going to be pressed for time. With getting to the actual airport, that's one thing, but going through security and then walking to the gate, it literally takes about 20 minutes. At that point, I would drop them off to my sister. My sister lives very close to me, and she is heaven sent, because I drop them off to her about 7:45. If I have to be there for like 9 or so, I give myself an hour and a couple minutes to get to work. She will then bring my children to school for me. I will work my full day, and then at that point, Michael has a babysitter that actually picks him up from school, or if it's a Friday that it is their father's weekend, he's going to pick them up. But usually, if I'm working during the week, the babysitter will pick him up. And then I also have a driver that picks up the baby and brings the baby to the babysitter from daycare. That sounds like a lot, but it's really not. Not when we are accustomed to this routine. And the boys are adjusting pretty well to this routine. They're okay with whoever's dropping them off, because usually it's either me or my sister, and that's the drop off to school. And then the pickup is usually the same people too. It's usually their father, me, the babysitter, and that's it. The babysitter then holds on to the children until I get home. She also puts them in their pajamas. So when I pick them up at about 10:30, they are usually already in their pajamas, and most times they already fell asleep. And they do not wake up, thank God. Usually when they do wake up, they go right back to sleep as soon as I get them in bed. So then I put them in bed, and that is it. I try not to do that back to back, because that is a lot for them. And I know that that's not a lifestyle that most people would want. And it's not a lifestyle that I chose, but I definitely had no choice, because it was either that or quit my job. And I'm like, no, I'm not quitting my job. Usually in a 2-family household in the past, their father would have been home, but that's not the case anymore. So they go to the babysitter instead of going to their dad. And then I pick them up. Fortunately, I live very close to the babysitter. The babysitter is literally about 3 minutes away. So it's a 3-minute drive. And they, like I said, they normally don't wake up. If I am going in a little bit later, then obviously I do the drop-offs, and there's just really no difference. I'm just dropping them off. And then depending on how late, it's either I go straight to work, or I can go home after dropping them off and then putting on my clothes and going to work at that point. A little bit about how flight attendants gets paid, which is very important so that you can understand, is we get paid by the flight hours. So I try to do semi-long haul flights. It's not really long, like flying to Colorado, but it is about 4 hours, and that's pretty decent for a trip. Now you might be wondering, what happens if a flight delays or a flight cancels? That has happened as well, and unfortunately it gives me a lot of anxiety. The anxiety that I feel when my trip is falling apart, it is insane. But lately I've been regulating my nervous system. Like, I try not to make these things bother me too much, because I have a plan and I trust my plan, and that's why it's important to have a village. So as I said, my sister lives very close to me. If I'm in an emergency, she or my mom, they will go and get my children for me, and they will bring them to my mom's house. I used to live with my mom, and grandma is grandma, and so they love it there. It has happened before when my flight actually canceled. My mom went and got my children. She brought them back to her house. I always, anytime I am going to work, I pack a bag for them. So it literally has everything that they need. It has their pajamas, everything. And so my mom will take over for me, where she will put them in their pajamas and do a whole nighttime routine for me. And because she lives 3 blocks away from me, which is basically very close to the school as well, in the morning, she brings them to school for me. In the beginning, having to trust someone to do all of that for me, even though it's my mom, and I absolutely trust my mom, I absolutely trust my sister, I still felt bad. I felt like, oh my God, like, I'm not home. Like I said, my nervous system, my anxiety would go skyrocketing. But lately I've been able to calm myself down and just trust that this is okay. It is okay to lean on my mom. It is okay to lean on my sister. And they remind me of that. They let me know, like, can you go to bed? Like, I would call my mom sometimes. I call my mom and I'm like, hey, how are the boys? And my mom is like, we're in bed. Can you not call again? Like, so she's great. She's great when it comes down to things like that. She's super supportive, and so is both of my sisters actually are super supportive. There's been times also where one of my sisters are like, hey, I have to pass, Moses daycare anyway, so I might as well take him instead of my other sister taking both of them. So a village is very important. I couldn't tell you how to do it without a village. I think that it's darn near impossible to do it without a village. Now, as far as the co-parenting, we do have a schedule where they go with their dad every other weekend. So sometimes, not all the times, I take advantage of that, and I would go to work Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I would make my 3 days right there so that I'm off Monday through Thursday. And I like that, but I don't do that all the time because there is going to be a time where I actually need a break. I need a break to be able to decompress. You know, I can't always just be on the go. And in the beginning, I used to try to do that. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to have the kids, blah, 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 blah. That doesn't work. That does not work for me. That doesn't work for their father. That doesn't work for the children. When I'm all over the place, super stressed out and tired. Some weekends I take off. Some weekends I go in super early so I can come back and still have my day. Like if I do a 4:45 check-in or I do a 5 a.m. check-in and I'm back by 2 on a Saturday, that's great. So that I have the rest of my Saturday to chill, and then I probably go back in on a Sunday. So it really just depends. When it's not my weekend with the children, I go with the wind as far as that. And that's the beauty of having a line, because you can do that. You can change your schedule. You can change the flight that you want to work as long as the company has it there and available. I also should mention that there are some one-off times where they do go with their dad. If he tells me that he's off on a Thursday, he says, I will pick them up from school on Wednesday, and then I'll drop them off to school on Thursday, and then I'm responsible to pick them up on Thursday. So that gives me a little flexibility where I would say, okay, well, that means that I can go to work on Wednesday after I drop them off, or my sister obviously, and I can come back maybe on a red-eye flight. It just really depends, but it gives me a little bit of flexibility, and it really lightens up my anxiety knowing that I have a whole plan set in place. In the beginning, it was a little bit hard for me to adjust to the schedule because I had a lot of mom guilt. I felt very guilty that the children were coming home late. I felt really guilty that in the summer, I just kept foreseeing the winter and the storms that might come, or the cold weather, and taking them out of their home after dark and stuff like that. But eventually I was able to adjust with the schedule, and so did they. They really adjusted to the schedule. They fall back asleep. Their sleep schedules are, 10 times better. I will say in the future, I'm just really excited about going international again. Right now, I don't leave the country because I'm just not comfortable. I know that being gone is being gone, whether it's across the country or not. I just want to be in the States. I don't know why. It's just a thing about them being so little and me feeling like I'm just far overseas. So I try to stay within the States, and I try to do turns, like I said. And on those one-off days, I do 2-day trips. In the future, I'm looking forward to doing 3-day trips on the weekends that they are with their father, and maybe 2-day trips if he is a little bit more consistent with taking them during the week. And that would be very helpful for them, for me, for everybody. People do ask a little bit about the pay. The pay is not all of that, but it is sustainable for my lifestyle, plus the income that I get with their father for raising them. So that also works out. I don't want to sugarcoat things. I'm not trying to glorify this whole situation. It is very hard to do alone, but I also don't want to discourage you, because I know that where there's a will, there's a way, and things usually just work itself out. And I learned that so much this year. I've learned so much about things just working themselves out that I try not to stress too much about the uncontrollables. I'm just here trying to control the controllables. If you are looking to become a flight attendant but you're afraid because you're not sure about the future of it, or if you are already a flight attendant but you are wondering what it will be like if you have children, my best advice is to make sure that you have a village. I'm not saying if you don't have a village not to do it, but I am saying that it might be a little bit more difficult for you to navigate. Anyway, I hope I touched on everything, but I'm pretty sure that someone might have another question, and if you do, I more than welcome them. Please put them in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you in my next video.